Let's get it.
Scotch, bourbon, and rye, yeah, we on that whiskey. Wanna discuss an array of topics, conversation simply. Gonna drop your whiskey bars with the sip hitting for. Could you pass it, you want more? Another glass, let it flow. Steady pour. Steady pour. Yeah, a steady pour. A steady pour of growing, a steady pour of sharing, a steady pour of knowing. Now pass that Glen Carry. So pull up a chair, grab a glass, and enjoy a melanin-infused perspective with a whiskey twist. Yeah, yeah, a steady pour.
A steady pour, y'all. We on the road. A steady pour, y'all. We on the road. What's going on, y'all? I'm your poor coach, Drew.
Calvin. Tony.
And we are your co-hosts for this episode where clearly we're not in the studio.
Nope.
No.
We out here in the streets.
It's Louisville streets.
The Louisville streets. And we have a special guest.
Yeah.
Some of you guys might know her as the national brand ambassador for Bardstown Bourbon Company. We have Jazz Distilled. What's going on from the IG whiskey streets? Jaz'min Weaver, welcome to the show. National brand ambassador of Bardstown Bourbon Company. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure.
Yeah.
Appreciate
this
you
is
for
awesome.
squeezing us in.
Yeah, we moved a couple mountains today to make it happen.
We did. We definitely did.
Absolutely. And we told our listeners, like, hey, as we were tasting Discovery 11 and 12, we was like, you know what? We should have someone from Bardstown Bourbon Company come on and talk about it, because that was a good tasting.
Oh,
Yeah, well-
absolutely. You can't go wrong with either on that.
No,
But-
you can't.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're just glad to have you, and hopefully we can learn more about Bardstown Bourbon Co. We've actually been there once, I want to say maybe twice actually, before, and the way we described it to our listeners the first time, it was like, it felt like the Apple version of the whiskey industry in terms of like the aesthetics of everything that was happening, in terms of it felt very modern,
clean
very
lines.
clean. Yeah.
Okay, I
Modern
love that you said that. We have always said that we kind of wanted to be like the Napa Valley of the Bourbon Trail.
Napa Valley.
To be
All right.
like elevated, sophisticated, and modern. So I think we're nailing it. That's how you would describe it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially during our first time, I guess, visiting different distilleries, it definitely was a different vibe.
Stands out
It stands
for that,
out,
for
right?
sure, yeah.
Where
Absolutely.
you had like this old legacy feel in some of these other distilleries, and then when you come here, it just felt new, innovative,
Modern.
It was
modern.
a decent blend because
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
totally modern. You still have the leathers, you still have the woods, you still have that kind of
Right.
aesthetic to it, but it's definitely a lot cleaner, a lot. And I just mean as far as the lines are concerned, as far as the just yes.
You're right.
But even the tech within the building,
Oh, yeah.
definitely is different than a lot of the distilleries around too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we were founded in 2016, which means we're the new kid on the block on the Bourbon Trail. It means that we were able to make things more technologically advanced than people who started 50 plus years ago. Right now we have something called an ignition system, and with that we control 500 different points of distillation. So we are able to customize on a level that most distilleries can't even dream of.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
What's up?
Right, and I think when we got there, you guys were just releasing the Origin series,
Right.
and we were
Yes.
able to taste it out the barrel at that tour, and now we see it on shelves, enjoying it. How's been the Origin series?
It has
Yeah.
been a delight. So it launched January of 2023. Kind of a big deal because the one thing you can't cheat on when it comes to whiskey is the time spent in the oak. That's why we really leaned into barrel finishes and our Discovery series, which is blending, because we wanted to demonstrate, hey, we know what good whiskey tastes like. We know how to bend a flavor. We know how to play well with others. And then in 2023, we were able to say, hey, also we make great whiskey. So yeah, anytime you see a bottle that says Origin Series on it, that means it's 100% ours and it's 6 years old.
Okay.
6 years. Okay. Cool.
Good to know.
So how did you get started as being the national brand ambassador? Because I think before you were a mixologist or bartender.
Yeah, I have been a bartender in Detroit for the past 10 years. Metro Detroit as well, so
Okay.
don't want anybody coming for me. And it was a little bit accidental. Like, I had known of Bardstown. I had a great relationship with their Michigan State rep. He was always showing me the new bottles, and I was always putting them on menus because we had menus that changed every 1 to 4 days. So I was able to be like, yeah, this makes sense with this dinner, and I don't have to buy a whole case. I can buy one, which is a lot more freedom than a lot of bartenders have. So because of that, I had tasted so many things. And then we did a bourbon dinner. It was a Bardstown dinner, and their head of new product development, Dan Calloway, he does all of our blending, and their head of marketing, James Lake, came to that dinner, and afterwards they were like, hey, we really feel like you should apply for this job. And
It is a
That's
wonderful
amazing.
feeling when you get invited to apply for a job.
absolutely. A lot of the time people are like, why did you choose Bardstown? And I'm like, well, besides
chose
it being,
me.
yeah, I was gonna say, besides it being one of the most innovative brands, like Bardstown chose me. So it's been one of the biggest, best adventures of my life.
Nice.
Were you always bourbon leaning or whiskey leaning, or was that kind of
I'd always loved weeded whiskey.
weeded? Okay.
But I was an Amaro person. Like, I love Amari. Like, if it's bittersweet, if it's Italian, if it has 17 plus ingredients and you don't know most of them, like, that was my jam. So, but I did formerly have a role where I selected single barrels for a restaurant. And so I had already known, like, if I ended up at a distillery, I could be pretty happy with
Wouldn't
that.
be too bad.
Right.
So I think we got to hop into this first
Let's do
pour.
it.
don't we?
Yeah, and I was gonna say, speaking of wheat, didn't you brought us up
That's
to something
true.
really
That's
nice.
a good segue.
Absolutely. So this is the newest addition to our Origin series. The other three, the High Rye Kentucky Straight Bourbon, our Wheated Bottled and Bond, and our Cherry Finish Rye all came out together in January of last year. This one just came out a month ago, and it's
Exclusive.
39% wheat. So
Wow. Okay.
All right.
106 proof.
That's
He's
what I was
on
gonna
it.
ask you.
Ease on in. That 100.
106 proof. I mean, that's
We've
close.
been doing 120s
Yeah.
all week.
Oh, so you guys are like, light work.
Right.
106.
I give my palate a break.
Well, when you add in the wheat too, I would think it adds a bit more delicate.
It's a really,
Delicate
really
grain.
bright nose for me.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
getting a lot
yeah.
of brightness on it.
Yes.
I absolutely agree. It's very, well, I don't want to guide any palates. It's very lemon peel to me.
Yeah. Yep. I'm getting that. Some fruit tones on there. But just bright is the word I'm thinking of on the nose.
So the exciting thing to me about this bottle is
That's
our
good.
original weeder was a bottled and bond, and that was the dream mash bill of our master distiller, Steve Nally, who y'all may know because 52 years in the bourbon biz, 32 of those spent at Maker's Mark, 17 of those is their master distiller, known as the Wheat King of Kentucky. But we also have a head distiller, Nick Smith, who was like, hey, I also have a dream weeded mash bill. So we were like, yeah, let's see what you got. And I think that the two bottles are so different and both so unique. And the first one's 100 proof, this one's 106. Like, as someone who likes to mix, I love them because they stand up in cocktails where other wheats are kind of soft and they fall by the wayside.
Right.
okay.
Right.
I like this.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot more, like you said, a lot more flavorful than I expected to be. Such high wheat. Sometimes the wheats, they can be a little too
Fine
delicate.
line. Yeah.
They can
Absolutely.
just kind of fall away. A question that we've started to ask people: do you have like a perfect proof?
Like your choice
Like-
of proof,
like-
Me personally,
Yeah.
I love a bottled and bond because it's 100 proof.
Okay.
I
Really?
think that,
Gives you a solid.
right, like I can feel it, but it's not crazy. Like, it's not giving me heartburn. I can mix with it. I can sip it. I feel like 100 proof for me, perfect proof, versatile.
Okay.
But now I want to know, what do you think the perfect proof is?
For me, I tend to be in the low teens.
Okay.
112, the 113, 114. That's usually where I find the sweet spot for me.
I would have to agree. I'm actually like I'm like between 112 and 115. That's what I'd say.
Oh, I thought you were going to say higher than
I
that.
know. So
You
did I.
got to
I
start
thought
at
it was gonna say
120.
115 or
Always love
120.
the high proof. Yeah.
I do like a 120 something, but I think with when you're in the teens, like that, so I'll bump it up to 115. But
There we go.
I don't know. It's a bit more balanced that way because sometimes there are a lot of bourbons or whiskeys that are when they're 120, they're really hot.
A little bit. Yeah, too much heat.
But the
can
ones
always
that
proof it down yourself.
the ones that are like that I've enjoyed that have been really, really, really good have been at the 120. So I don't want to say it's perfect because you can go wrong with. I felt in my I had a lot of whiskeys that like scorched earth my palate that were up there in the 120. So
Gotcha.
Right.
you know, I guess I
I would
came
have
down
put
a
you
little bit.
115
Yeah.
to 122.
Right. I'm going to say for me between like 107 and 110, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I feel like there's a lot of really good 107s, but 110 is also really nice. You're getting some heat.
Nice little benchmark.
But it's not blowing your palate out, and still a lot of flavor on those. So, yeah.
Nice.
So I'm actually in a unique position to
Interview
kind of
us?
explore like those proof windows. For like the next time I'm tasting, I'm gonna be like, okay, let's think about like, what I'm picking up
Just
here.
figuring it out.
Right.
Because every time we do a discovery blend, essentially as a team, we sit down, we vote on which combinations we like the most. Then when we decide the one that we like the most, we taste it at a bunch of different proof points. And there are times when one proof point is so drastically different from another one, and the difference, it seems like it would be minute, but it's not. So
Right.
now that you guys have told me the preferred ranges, I'm gonna be like, all right, let's see whether those are the sweet spots.
Okay.
They all our sweet spots are a little varied. Every
Right.
single one.
Right. As a mixologist, is there? I would think maybe as a bottled in bond would probably be what you would like because again, it's more versatile in terms of how you can mix it in.
Absolutely. Although sometimes a lower proof is better because you want people to buy two.
That's from the business side.
Right.
Yeah.
Spending that money.
That's right, because someone pointed it out to me. I was like, how come when I go to the regular, I'm gonna say restaurants, at least I'll say in Jersey, there's not a lot of high proof whiskeys. Like the most you probably get is maybe like a 90, and that was because
They want you to buy more.
Right.
yeah. So I was like, oh, that makes sense.
There's a strategy.
Spend that, and if you do find higher proofs, that's when you're spending $20, $30, $40, $50 a pour.
Too many dollars.
Right. Right.
That's really good.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this one. Do I see something else over there?
Are we ready for me to
Let's
pour
do it.
Oh,
another one?
I'm not saying no.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I gave you such a big pour. I didn't know where to
I fooled you with the little glass.
Come on, Cal.
Act like you've done this before.
So what's this guy? This looks special.
So,
I like that label.
this is one of our newest collaborations. It's with Silver Oak Winery out of Napa Valley,
Hey,
California.
Napa. I grew up in Sonoma, so
Oh, cool.
they always get on me for that, but right next door.
Thank you.
And okay, so Origin Series means that we made it ourselves. Discovery Series is essentially us going out, finding small batches, blending them together in ratios that make knockout bottles. Collaboration Series is always going to be a unique barrel finish with someone we're partnering with in the industry. So we have partnered with breweries like Goose Island, but also wineries, and this is
Yeah.
probably my favorite wine finish that we've ever done.
Right.
So 108 proof,
Okay.
a blend of 6 different whiskeys, ranging from 9 to 14 years old. And it rests for 17 months in these California cab barrels.
The nose on this is in itself a journey.
Yeah. How
There's a
is
lot
the
of, like-
specific wine chosen to pair? Like that specific
You
cab
know-
or a vintage or?
I have not talked to Dan specifically about that, but one of the fun things about everyone at Bardstown is that we all come from really diverse backgrounds, so it's a lot of palates and opinions. Dan has sommelier training, so I'm sure that there's like something that just sang to
Yeah,
him
to
about
him,
this wine,
yeah.
but I haven't chatted with him about that yet. One of the ways that we're pioneers in the industry is a lot of the time when you're doing a barrel finish, they ask people to dump and rinse the barrels, like they just want what's going on in the wood. we requested that they send us the barrels as wet as possible. So they dumped the wine out, pumped it full of argon gas like you were gonna preserve a wine. Sorry, I was stuttering. I was so excited to share. Put it in a refrigerated truck and then got it to us as soon as possible. So we were able to get a lot of that characteristic, like as close to barrel proof as possible, but then, the wine proofs it down.
This is amazing.
Yay.
Right now on the nose,
This is incredible.
I'm getting like date and raisin.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
I absolutely agree.
Drew, does this beat the other wine collaboration we tried?
The Carter Cellars, the Carter.
It
Drew has a bottle
was
of
the
that.
Carter
Yeah.
Cellars.
So I'm trying to see if we think it's better than that one, because
Yeah,
we really
what's
enjoyed
the-
that one
what's
as
the
well.
verdict?
That's-
Yeah, I was gonna say I was getting like a dark fruit, so that raisin, for sure. I think I was gonna say like a grape almost.
yeah, get that.
But yeah, it was
Definitely dark fruit.
delicious.
But I feel like it has, at least on the nose, it's got a dry. That's why I went raisin, because it feels, how do I explain it? Like older and drier. It's not really grape.
Yeah.
It's not hitting me
Right, like
with
it's not a
grape.
juicy fruit. It's
Right.
okay, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, it's really good.
That
Really
is pretty
good.
tasty.
Been really interesting to see all the collabs come out, because so many times, even if we're doing the same style, it's apples and oranges. So it's like we did a Foursquare collab, but we also did a plantation collab. Plantaray now, but plantation at the time. And those couldn't have
Good
been those couldn't have been like more different in flavor profile. In the same way that we did Goose Island with their, like, we did a Goose Island Imperial Stout finish, but then we also did a Founders Stout finish, and both those side by side are day and night. And even if we work with the same brand a second time, there's always a different blend that's going in, or we're leaving it in for separate amounts of time. So it's been fascinating to kind of witness the ways that you can bend flavor depending on the wood.
I guess that, and it just goes back to, for me, what has always kind of driven me to whiskey in general is that blend of science and art. And you're talking about the art part of it. It's that part that you can't really control. It is what it is. Once you put it in there, you can try a lot of things to control it, but you ain't gonna know what it is until it comes out of that barrel.
Certainly. And that's part of why I would say Bardstown seduced me, is because they are so curious about what you can do with flavor. We know what whiskey has been, like what can whiskey become? We've got that glass front rickhouse, which is an experiment in progress. We're witnessing what a few hours of direct sunlight does each day to the barrel aging process. And then if it's a mash bill, or if you can distill with it, chances are we're playing with it whether it ever sees a shelf or fills a bottle. Like, we're still curious and testing and tasting. And I think that that's so cool, given that some distilleries, they have a single mash bill or a handful of mash bills, and that's all they do.
That's it.
Right.
Which, nothing wrong. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you've got this winning recipe, absolutely keep going in that direction. But I just find myself, I'm a curious person, I'm an eternal student, and working for Bardstown gives me the opportunity to be like, whoa, what are we learning today? Like, what are we doing? What are we tasting?
Right.
That's awesome.
It's actually kind of funny that we came from a place like Michter's.
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 Which is what
Which
she's
is
kind of talking
very kind of tight. Like, they have their way and they stick to their way, and they really want to, and they'll explore here or there, and they'll kind of try to innovate, but for the most part,
Like, we got it dialed in.
we want consistency, we want structure, we want blah blah blah. And now we're talking to someone from Bardstown, which is the complete opposite of that.
Meanwhile, we're like, what if we distill with rice?
right. we want to break all the rules.
That's cool,
We
though.
want to
Yeah.
innovate. We want to. Let's see what this does.
Actually, not too long ago, I went into the distillery and I saw all of these fermenters, and they were full of, like, they were purplish. And I was like, what is going on here? And it turns out it was just a type of heirloom corn. And they're like, oh, we just did a batch with just this specific corn. And I was
That's
like, that's so
awesome.
cool. Like,
That's
I'd
very
never,
cool.
like, I was like, something's wrong here. And they're like, no, it's going exactly right.
Happening. We got the Joker blend.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that new location, the downtown location?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that up.
Because Drew and I got a chance to visit there.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
so-
you made some new
They left me.
adjustments even since we went. So
Absolutely. So last October, we opened the Bardstown Tasting Room. It's in Louisville's historic Whiskey Row, and right by Proof on Main, if you know where that is. But it is, we decided, like, hey, in the downtown area, what does the modern whiskey experience look and feel like if it's only a tasting room, if you can't go to the distillery? And so I think that it turned out really gorgeous. We honored the moss wall that we have at the distillery by having a moss wall down there. It's got a bar program that I think is really cool. We've got some hungry young bartenders that are interested in innovating with what we've got. That's the word of the day coming up. And a tasting room, well, a tasting classroom with these interactive video tables and a couple of different educational sensory experiences.
Okay.
But the best thing about the downtown tasting room is that it gets single barrels that not even the distillery gets. Because we want to make it worth people's while to go to both. Like,
Right.
if you want to see
Right.
where it all originated.
You don't want to just recreate the same experience.
Right, exactly. So I think both are definitely worth visiting. I mean, I might be a little biased, but
Maybe a little.
I think that both are definitely worth visiting. And I think that it's hard for people to get an idea of, like, what is the modern bourbon experience until you really see what we're doing. Like, yes, there's a lot of glass, but I mean, it's sexy in there.
it actually it really
it was.
it really is. It's pretty sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times. And,
good times.
The cocktails were delicious as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
thank you. I'm gonna make sure to let the bar team know.
One day I'll get over it.
Yeah. That
What
was
are
a
you
lot of
talking
fun.
about?
We got to see our guy John Bourbon Goggles, John Cecil. That was cool.
Yes, yes.
Doing work over there now. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, we're so excited to have him. One, he just loves Bardstown, and what better way to spread the good word than to have true enthusiasm behind it. But two, he has a pretty cool at-home speakeasy.
We're trying to get
Yeah,
over there.
yes,
we're trying to. Make
We've
that
been
happen.
trying to get over there for
We're
a
trying to
bit.
make it happen. maybe sometime soon. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
You said that you like to learn. You learned a lot. What is something that Bardstown has taught you since your time there?
Ooh.
And what is something that you would like to learn more of?
Okay, so I feel like you're probably hoping for a whiskey-related question. I'm like, what
Doesn't
have
have
I
to be.
learned?
Doesn't have to be.
No. We want a jazz-related question.
I would say one of the main things that Bardstown has taught me is let other people tell you no. Any idea that I have that, like, you work in a restaurant, you know that there are certain, like, profit margins you have to hit. So there are so many times when I have an idea, or I want to build a cocktail, or we want to do this event, and the answer is no, because that just doesn't make sense financially. And now I'm in a position where there is no thought that's too big. We can at least try it once and figure out what's the better way to tweak it, or does that make sense? And so I feel really, really empowered as a minority woman, and to be like, hey, I think that we should do this, and to have every head in the room nod and say, we absolutely agree with you, let's make it happen.
Wow.
I feel like I started off like very, very timid and like, oh, well, can we maybe do this? Can we maybe do that? And they have been so incredibly supportive in every direction. So yeah, like I would just say the main thing I've learned is like, let other people tell you no. Like, there's so many times when I've been like, it's not a good idea, and they're like, pitch it anyway. Let's find out.
Right.
And
I think
Forgiveness over permission.
yeah, well, one of the things that my boss has told me is he was like, personality over perfection. If you show up being
right.
your authentic self, then the rest of it really doesn't
It'll work
matter.
itself out.
Yeah. And
That's
so-
what's up.
But when it comes to things that I want to learn, so I have been getting really nerdy into wood science, and I am so interested in just the different ways that wood is impacting what we're tasting, and because I'm nerdy like that, wanting to figure out a way to test what flavors were we getting like 50 years ago versus now, given that the oak that we're pulling for the barrels was so much older then. It's
Right.
like right
It's
now
a tighter grain.
Right, exactly. And so it's been fascinating and interesting to witness our single barrel rye program, which launched just this year. So, okay, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we partner with the West Virginia Great Barrel Company because we like to collaborate. And we figured if we're bending flavors, why not go straight to the most technically advanced cooperage on the planet? So they pioneered infrared toasting technology. They make split stave barrels for us, 2 staves cherry for every 1 stave oak, and we're the only ones that get to use those barrels. So we started doing a single barrel program with them, and we are testing light toasts and medium toasts, and then leaving it in for 6 to 18 months. And through that, we're able to taste all the different variations, but we're also able to test all those barrels to say, hey, what flavors are popping up that aren't popping up when it comes to oak, or like, what's dying down? And we're learning that the infrared toasted cherrywood dampens tannin, so even though it's sitting in 2 different barrels, you're not getting this big like wood bomb. But it's also been fascinating because it's a single barrel program. We can make a lot of them, and then we can track what people are drawn to. And none of the experiments are going to waste, because there's always going to be somebody who's like, oh my gosh, I love that this is a cherry pie, and somebody else that's like, I love that this tastes like a burnt cherry Pop-Tart. So
That's cool.
yeah,
That is pretty awesome.
it's been a fascinating experience, because a lot of the time single barrels, they're like, okay, bourbon is bourbon and has different notes. Like these rye barrels, they're some of the greatest variants that I've ever seen, because it's like all of them are 95.5 rye. All of them are in the same age range, and the only difference is the oak that they're sitting, or the cherry oak barrels that they're sitting in. So
Cool.
Right.
yeah.
That is pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Especially, I've always been curious as to what you were suggesting before, is the old trees versus the newer trees,
Yeah.
right? Because we're getting these way younger trees. Because I've torn down the whole back corner of my house. My house was built in like 1890.
Ooh.
Right. When I tore it down, they had the original 2x4s. But when you cut it and you look at the grain on that older wood is so much tighter. It's so much. There's no way it doesn't make a vast difference.
I have no
When-
doubt. There's a place in Detroit that's, I think it's called like Restoration Hardware or something like that. But when a house gets demolished, anything that they can save, they do, and then they resell it. But some of the parts that they resell are just like old hardwoods, and they're like, it's better for building with because it's already seasoned, and people go crazy for it, but it's cheaper than anything that you could go to like Lowe's or Home Depot to get right now. And I'm like,
Right.
man, this is
It
fascinating.
doesn't
like,
have the
like
same
I said,
bow.
wood science. I've been
We gotta do a
I've
whole-
been thinking about
wood episode.
woods lately.
It's really cool.
But yeah, I've always been curious as to like if we could find just older wood and just have one barrel of the older wood compared
Just
to
to
one
compare,
barrel of the
yeah.
newer wood. Put
Hey.
the same mash bill from the same distillate in
Like
it.
the
and
then and now pour we did. That
kind of,
right? With the
except
Jim Beam.
the distillate wouldn't be as aged as long, because
Right.
it
True,
would just
true.
be
Yeah,
the
yeah,
wood.
yeah. Right. Yeah.
I would love to see the comparison there.
Interesting.
Nice. Man, this is great. I'm actually
We might need to pick up some bottles of this. before-
yeah. It's over there in the
around.
shop.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
What's the price point for both, or actually for the wheat and the collaborative?
So our wheat is, I want to say 50-ish.
Oh, that's
I don't.
not
I
bad.
would say I don't want to give you like a firm price just
Yeah.
because I know
Right.
that this
All right.
podcast goes
Right,
out
estimate.
nationwide, so I
Right,
don't.
right.
Somebody be like, "Oh, it's $45.99," and they're like, "You're a liar." This is $159.99.
Okay.
Nice.
So around the same price as the
So
Discoveries.
if you're in any other state, we're talking 75 and 150. just to put it in perspective.
You know, that was one of the other things that I really loved about Bardstown as a bartender. I come from Michigan. It's a control state. We don't get everything, but we did get their new bottles. So I was like, ooh, I have a thing that I can play with. Whereas,
And you probably got it closer to MSRP. You don't have
Oh,
to worry
yeah.
too much about the crazy prices that be out here sometimes.
actually, it has been fascinating to witness some of the bottles on shelves in the wild and be like, dang, that's a crazy markup.
Right? You're like, 3 what? Oh, okay.
The other crazy part is that I've been with Bardstown since April of last year, which means that there are collaborations and discoveries that I've never encountered because they were long gone before I ever became part of the brand. So there's so many times when somebody's like, oh my gosh, my favorite discovery was number 3. And I'm like, okay,
Way back.
cool. Sounds good.
Good luck with that.
Oh man, this is awesome.
Yeah, no, this is so cool.
Thank you
Thank you
so
guys
much.
so much
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how to follow you and how to
Oh.
follow Bardstown and
Yes,
and everything?
please.
Yeah.
So I am jazz.distilled on Instagram.
Okay.
Bardstown is Bardstown Bourbon Co. And if you want to follow our Vice President of New Product Development, he is Danny Bardstown. And I really recommend that because you get to see the behind the scenes of what his thought process is when he's coming up with some of these innovations.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've learned to definitely take the recommendations coming from Bardstown.
Absolutely.
Because is it Lynette Bourbonista?
Yeah.
She
yeah.
definitely she was like, yeah, we definitely need to have Jaz'min on
Get
our
her on the
podcast.
show.
So,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. And so now we'll definitely reach out. We're super excited to have you. Thank you so much for coming on.
And then my final thought is, I don't know if you guys are sleeping on Green River, but that's our sister distillery. They've been
Okay.
around since 1885, 10th oldest distillery in the state of Kentucky. So if you're loving everything modern that we're doing, you should check out the best classic that you've never heard of.
Hey.
Okay.
did
I
pick
literally
up a-
just picked up a bottle of the wheat.
Oh, amazing.
And I picked up a foolproof, so there you
All
go.
right,
That's
so,
another episode.
So you guys
It's
are
on
ahead
the
of the curve.
We're fans.
Right. It's in the queue.
Wow.
All right, dope. Make sure you guys check out Jaz'min on her socials at Jazz Distilled. Check out Bardstown Bourbon Co.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of good stuff happening over at Bardstown, and we're excited to definitely taste and have you here to interview. So this is awesome.
Yay.
Absolutely.
Until the next time.
Until the next time, deuces.
Peace.
All right.
Well, that concludes this episode of a Steady Pour podcast. Make sure you follow on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Yeah.